My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be The Mammoth Cheese Video 8, The Quest, Toronto. This is my novel, James McIntyre, The Mammoth Cheese, novel by John Passfield, historical photo from 1866 on the front cover. On the back, a summary of the story. With the contribution of 800 cows, the tiny village of Ingersoll, Ontario, has not only produced the world's largest block of cheese, it has also nurtured the epic poet who can rapturously sing its praises. Now, if only Queen Victoria can be persuaded to take a hearty bite and add her majestic voice to the poet's ecstatic hymns of praise, the mammoth cheese will become the edible jewel in the crown of the globe-girdling British Empire. So that's the quest then for validation for having created the world's largest block of cheese. And this particular segment of the quest is the Toronto visit. In this video, I'm going to read from chapters 8, 9, and 10, in which a trainload of Ingersollians travels to the exhibition in Toronto, seeking an award for their huge block of cheese that will impress the rest of the British Empire. I will select the image units which refer to that quest. So, chapter 8, let's start with page 57. Whoops, went past it. Okay. There, 57, sorry. Chapter 8, Toronto 1. On the train, bound for Toronto, bearing a larger Ingersoll contingent than traveled to the earlier town. Most have been to the Toronto exhibition many times. This time, though, there's a personal Ingersoll stake. Toronto's exhibition is the biggest exhibition in Ontario, for sure. We're the host for all the agricultural wonders of the age. But Ingersoll, little Ingersoll, not so prominent as Toronto on the map of Ontario, on the map of Canada, on the map of the globe, is the birthplace of the biggest cheese in all the world. So then we move quite a ways over to page 60 in that chapter. The villages and farms and houses fly quickly by. Chatter of Toronto by the people who crowd the aisles. What time's the judging? I want to be there, but there's other things in Toronto besides the fair. When does the train go back? I was late once and had to spend a whole nother day. What's the fare at the main gate? You pay again for the exhibition room? So, what can I write about Toronto? What to convey to the readers of Ingersoll? Those readers who didn't come, that is, to Toronto today. Some of the readers would know this city. Some of them wouldn't know Toronto at all. Do I tell my readers it's just like Ingersoll? More streets, more houses, more stores, more people, more dogs, more cats, more of everything that you find in Ingersoll. Is that what my readers want to be told? If I wrote like that, would they ask for their money back? Okay, chapter 9 then. Ingersoll 2. The Ingersoll crowd surges from the train station. The Ingersoll crowd surges down the street. A small group clusters at the railway car with the mammoth cheese. I stay behind to make notes on the unloading. How is my eye on the target? How is my mind on the central fact, never distracted from duty or purpose? Like the jewels in the tower, like the gold in the Federal Mint. In a nondescript railway car sits the mammoth cheese. A page further on. Shoulder to shoulder with a dozen Toronto reporters, here to pounce upon the story of the day. Notebooks sticking out of their pockets, pencils stuck behind their ears, yawning and scratching and blowing the nose, so smug, so sophisticated, so jaded. Toronto news is Toronto news for Ontario at most. Well, here is the news about the news. All the world will soon take note of the Ingersoll cheese. A narrow opening in the sliding door of the railway car. Mr. Harris and the other manufacturers slip inside. Waiting. My pencil poised to record the official word. Finally, the sliding door slides open, and a voice is heard to cry, no damage to the Ingersoll cheese. Then we go over to page 66. We are counting on Toronto. Toronto will put us over the top, the highest mountain, the highest promontory, the highest hill. We need Toronto, as we need sustenance. More than water, air, or food, we need a boost from the Toronto judges, a Toronto catapult to fling us up to the stars. Should it be billed as the biggest, the largest, the foremost in size? For sure it is. The only thing wanting now is validation. What is fact must be acknowledged. What is true must be affirmed. A certificate of significance, then a hammer and a nail and the nearest tree. And then we go to page 68. So they've already created the largest cheese in the world. What they're seeking now is validation from others who have not built the largest cheese in the world or created it. This is page 68. The horses pause as if in awe of the task that they have undertaken. A huge banner hangs over the gates of the Toronto exhibition. Come and see the largest chunk of cheese in the whole wide world. Validation. At times we hold the globe in our hands. We hold it up to the sunlight. Through the window a gentle breeze. The world is a sphere of blank white paper. We dip our pen in the ink and make our mark. So, success is at hand. Here's chapter 10, which is Toronto 3, the third Toronto chapter in the quest. The judging starts in an hour. A last-minute rumor sweeps the crowd. I can't believe that this is happening. This is history repeating itself. They brought us all the way here to tell us now? But what about the banner at the gate? That banner is the reason for the size of this crowd. How could history be happening again? How could the stars be so amiss? What are the stumbling blocks that plague the human course? To reach for the sun with the barest of hands? Surely a quest for the son of a god. To bring home the gold at the end of the rainbow? The golden fleece? The massive cheese? And then be greeted by empty streets and an absent crowd? Then on to page 72. Another emergency meeting. Emergency meeting number what? Where's the list that I was keeping track? I flipped the pages back through time, but no note appears. It's in the notebook which I filled and filed away in my reportage drawer. Only the judges and those concerned. I pressed my case with the men at the door. Surely the public has a right to know. This concerns every man, woman, and child in Ingersoll. All I have heard are speculative rumors. Surely you want the truth to be told. I am the voice of the common populace. I insist that I hear the news and pass it on. What is the news that is no news? What is the newspaper without a headline? What is the story that is printed as a blank page? What are the facts when there are no facts? What are the thoughts that are based on nothing at all? And then further on, a scrum of Ingersollians. Outside the exhibition, all the manufacturers speak to the crowd. No category for our splendid enterprise, no acknowledgement of our accomplishment, no recognition of our great deed, no prize for what they admit is excessive size. Only the taste of a little piece will the judges see. I catch a glimpse of Mr. Harris through the half-open door. Not open to the world? Not open to the world? What kind of logic is not open to the world? Only open to Ontario? Only Ontarians allowed to compete? That is why the judges will award no world-level prize. But it's the biggest cheese in the world. Their own banner proclaims the fact. How could they put that banner up and not give a prize? And then we go to this. A somber train ride home to Ingersoll. All are tired from their excitement at the fair. The manufacturers puff their cigars at the front of the railway car. A flask is passed around from hand to hand. I asked to sit among them, but I'm refused. They will make their public statement when the time is right. There's very little talk. Each is absorbed in his own little world. I see the back of Mr. Harris's head, but not his eyes. I rack my brain to consider the facts. Here is a lesson, sure enough. There's the cheese. There's the prize. I see that he who controls the cheese controls nothing at all. I see that he who controls the prize controls the world. Pin a blue ribbon on this or that. Confer value on what you prefer or hold it back. Make here a king or a duke or maybe an earl. Make there a miserable peasant or a slave. Turn a blind eye to the biggest mountain of cheese in the world. So that's the end of the Toronto leg of the quest. There is no category for the biggest cheese in the world, even though you might have created the biggest cheese in the world. I have read in all 10 images from the 3 Toronto chapters. Now each of these chapters contains 54 image units, which makes for 162 image units in the 3 Toronto chapters. So if only 10 image units tell the story of the quest for validation of the Ingersoll cheese as the biggest block of cheese in the British Empire, how are the other 152 image units functioning in the telling of the Toronto story? Well, the poetic novel doesn't tell a story directly, as the prose novels do. The poetic novel presents the mind of the main character as he responds to the events of his life. So James McIntyre, the main character, at various levels of his consciousness, subconsciousness, is devoting only 10 image units of thought to what we can call the action imagery, and the other 152 image units of thought to what I call deepening imagery. I could also call this imagery interpretive imagery, as the mind of the main character, and one would hope the mind of the reader of the novel, is attempting to make meaning by speculation as to significance of the situation. Consider this, that of the 152 deepening image units in these 3 chapters, 3 of those image units present this imagery. Okay, I'm going to page 73 here. Here's image number 1 of this deepening image arc. Something was nipping at his toes. What was it? You'd swum in these waters before. You'd sat on the bank and listened to stories galore. You hadn't paid much attention to what had been said. Then over a couple of pages to page 75. Back home, there were snapping turtles. They would nip at a swimmer's toes. Swimmers would swim like no one's business, practically fly right up on the bank. Don't want a snapping turtle taking a hold of your toe. And then over to page 77, leaving out a couple of pages of imagery each time. But here, there were different stories. Every once in a while, there were mermaids. they would tickle a swimmer's toes. How did the stories go after that? He should have listened, as the people on the bank had talked. So, the story of toes, the story of snapping turtles, and of mermaids has deepening imagery. Let me flip my page here. Imagery comments on imagery. So what do the 3 toes image units have to say about the 3 chapters of thought about the quest for validation at the exhibition in Toronto? And having considered that topic, what do the other 149 deepening image units have to say? Oh, and one last point. Don't forget that both sets of images, the action images and the deepening images, are being generated not by a narrator, but by the mind of the main character. So the reader's question in this novel and all of my novels is, what is the main character thinking? To answer this question, the reader does what the main character does. The reader interprets the images. So, once again, this is my novel, James McIntyre, The Mammoth Cheese. It's found on Amazon. There's information there. My publisher's website is rocksmillspress.com, rocksmillspress.com. There's more information there. And on my website, johnpassfield.ca, johnpassfield.ca, there's not only more information, but there's 2 books that you can read for free. You can access them. One is a planning notebook and one is a journal. The planning notebook is simply that. I plan and write the novel, and I keep notes as I do so. And then when I'm finished, I polish the novel, and as I do that, I keep a journal of response. What have I accomplished, and where do I go from here in future novel writing? So those books are both on my website, johnpassfield.ca. Have a look for free if you're interested. Lastly, thank you for watching this video.